and it has an important impact on the producers, the small producers in very rural areas. Gabriela and Jori get the producers in touch with investors through blockchain. This is fascinating, and it's related to coffee, so it is right on the spot. We just hit it on the head. And let me introduce you to Paula. She's also a journalist, and I leave you to the video on Jori and Gabriela.
Fundadores de FICAP, una plataforma que conecta de forma segura con un sistema digital innovador a pequeños agricultores sin acceso a bancos con inversores globales. La experiencia de Jori como productor de café y la trayectoria de Gabriela en el impulso a pymes agrícolas se unen en una visión común: demostrar que la inversión de impacto social puede transformar comunidades y generar prosperidad compartida. Con este modelo innovador, Ethic Hub reduce riesgos, multiplica el impacto social y mejora la vida de miles de familias rurales. Hoy son referentes en inclusión financiera y economía regenerativa, llevando la confianza y las oportunidades a la economía local.
Bueno, pues es un gusto estar aquí un año más.
So it's a great pleasure to be here yet another year with such an inspiring project such as Ethic Hub. You're going to love it. This is like telling you a story that puts its stakes on a new age of digital sovereignty, a new way of understanding the economy and sustainability. And it's also on a story on people who come together to create alchemy leading to such beautiful projects. So welcome to both of you. And let me start by asking you, Gabriela, to tell us about your story and with coffee. It has a long history, and that's the seed of this project. Yes, so I was born in Chiapas in Mexico. It's one of the regions with biggest biodiversity in the world. My family has always worked with coffee. And did you know that you can preserve 2/3 of biodiversity while you grow coffee in the shade? I thought that was the normal thing to do because it was normal where I was, where I grew. My dad used to tell me that when he was a kid, there were lizards and there were many animals that I never got to see. And still today, when I have breakfast, I get to see armadillos and toucans and things like that. And I thought that I should preserve that. I should record this in case it gets lost. And then I thought, why should it get lost? Why can't we preserve everything that's around the world of coffee and the agroforestry systems? And I wonder on, and I ask myself how these systems can have an impact on the types of productive systems we want. I was a department chief in the Secretariat of Economic Development in Mexico, which was dealing with SMEs and the coffee growers. We were very acquainted with this world. That's funny, because I never thought that you could grow coffee in the shade or in the sun, which is what prevails now, the most dominant thing. So this coffee in the sun is the main one, which is more deleterious for the environment. So your project is trying to promote this idea of growing the coffee plants in the shade. And you got together with Jori. You used to work in the world of finance and big corporates. And at some point, you decided to have a purpose. It is not just Gabriela and myself. Actually, none of us are the technicians. We have a very technological part in what we do. We incorporate. Oh, the idea came about in 2017, and we are trying to use this vision that first appeared when blockchain came up. Blockchain would facilitate access of people to funding or financial services. Back in 2017, there were still 20 million people excluded from the financial system. Most of them were small producers in developing countries. We knew the coffee producers because of our background. My family also comes from the world of coffee. So we thought that there was something we were not understanding quite well. How can it be that on one side of the world there is so much coffee plantations, and if you go to the bank and put your money there and you get 0% of interest, and then on the other part of the world the capital is so little that these little producers have to pay huge amount of interest if they do have access to funding. And that's precisely because of the lack of access to the global economy, due to the lack of digitization and so on. So that was the original idea that took us to this project. And we saw how technology was an enabler to build something that could break the capital flows barriers, that could help people join the global economy. So you decided to bring together the blockchain technology and sustainability and coffee. And as you said before, taking into account the people that do not belong to the banking system, and they usually work on agriculture. Yes, 1/4 of the world population doesn't have financial services according to the World Bank. Most of them are small producers and farmers living in poverty in spite of producing 1/3 of the food in the world. So we have a simple but ambitious vision. We want to have small supply chains where producers are more involved because they are very much related to the sustainable agricultural production systems. This is like a decentralized Amazon. And if we take care of it and if we promote it, we can have a social, economic and environmental impact. As you were saying before, Ethic Hub is not a project that is aiming at helping these farmers. This is rather about building bridges where both sides, where there is a feedback between both sides. There is the coffee that is drunk in the north is produced in the south. So tell us more about this idea of creating an egalitarian system. We believe, and we've proven, that technology allows us to create technology systems that can produce shared values instead of being extractive systems. So our name is Ethic Hub, and that's for a reason. Altruism has limitations, and for us it was important to prove that we can have a different economic system that does not depend on altruism. Or mutual benefit is better than donations, because you give donations when you can or want. This is not about charity. They produce something that has a lot of value. They need efficient economic systems. That's it. And the economy allows that, allows them to have their fair share in what they are producing. We have very structured systems with capital that focuses exclusively in money capital without taking into account the environmental and social capital. If we add all of the ingredients to that, we realize that they do not need any help. They need to be equal players in our systems. How does Ethic Hub work? So basically, everything comes from a participatory platform where you create a wallet with your email account and you choose the role you want to play. whether you want to have a low risk, a low profitability, 8%, and that's not bad, 8%. What you do with that is you lend digital euros or digital dollars to those farmers. It's cooperatives, actually, not single producers. Or you can decide to run more risks and more profitability, and you buy our token called ethics, and then you put it there for a specific cooperative. If that project, that cooperative has any problem, you are taking a risk, and your ethics, your token, can be used as a compensation for the farmers. You are taking the risk. To have a self-sufficient funding platform, we decided to include commercialization as a as a part of the model. The funds go to coffee producers, cooperative, and they pay back with coffee. We export it and sell it to specialty coffee makers in Spain. There is an important market. The coffee at the corner next door is one of our clients, actually. They buy that green coffee. They put their brand to it, and it's an alternative supply chain. This is different than going to the supermarket and buy the main brands. They are subsidiaries of the huge corporations. Those are commodity coffees that do not highlight the difference of the different kinds of production. We have high quality forestry produce coffee, and it is very important that that is known and that we support that production chain. We are preserving biodiversity, and as well the ancient cultures are preserved as well, and the ways of living. We also introduce technology. We also introduce a new way of understanding economy with a very important metric, which is ethics. You decided to use this name Ethic Hub and use this metric. Why was it so important? Because we believe that the main problem of the world is the disconnection. We speak about the global north and global south, and everything is interconnected. We believe that ethics is the common standard that unites everyone. So ethics should be common to all of the planet. Morals, that is different. That relates to cultures, groups, regions. A moral thing for a Christian person is different from a moral thing for a Muslim person. So moral is cultural, and ethics is universal. We are inspired by a wonderful book called The Chronicles of Ultramodernity by José Antonio Marina, a Spanish philosopher, who says that the ultramodernity will be ethical or won't be at all. We need a future that brings us together to create actual global systems. How can it be global if it's imposed by Europe or North America to the rest of the world? Let me delve into this issue a little bit more. This has very much to do with things that have been said here today. It was I like what Anya said. That was mind-blowing, all the things you can do with technology. That's amazing. And all of the technologies developed by humanity throughout history have been used for the good and the evil. So it is important to reach the awareness and responsibility levels with what we create, so we do not create more problems than benefits. Bioengineering can create huge monsters and viruses, and that's probably not what we wish for. Or the genetically modified seeds. That's part of our business. So they prevent plants from reproducing themselves through their seeds. And you're creating a new problem. There is cross-pollination that's leading to cross-pollination of local varieties, and they're losing their ability to spawn. So what we are doing here is not only learning from the different possibilities, but also from the responsibility we must take as human beings. That's right, as human beings and also as consumers. We heard about digital sovereignty and the new digital citizenship, and we can get our power back as consumers. And our purchase decisions, our decisions on where we buy and what we buy, what we consume, that defines us. It's very important to give consumers back, to give them their ability to transform the society. Yes, I like to underline that as consumers, we have an obligation. If we have the privilege to eat 3 times a day, we are moving the world with our privilege. What kind of coffee are you buying? In 1993, 60% of the coffee in the world was from agroforestry. Today, it's down to 25%. We've seen some pictures of the farmers you work with. Yes, that's something you can't see. If you go to the supermarket, you see a price and quality, but quality goes much beyond that. Is not just the taste of it. Who grew it, how it was grown, did they promote biodiversity or did they erode biodiversity? We've come to a point where there's a regulation signed by over 120 countries that will be mandatory very shortly, and they will have to provide details on the impact on biodiversity of the products, and we are seeing that, we're experiencing that now. That's probably the easiest thing we can do. When you go to the supermarket, you can go and decide to buy certain eggs, buy flow-grown hens that are not only better for your health, but you're also preventing animal suffering. You're promoting deindustrialization of that product in particular. Same thing for flour, for instance. If you're buying cheap flour, it might be American, not Europe, and it probably has glyphosate, and it is not that you have intolerance to gluten, it's that you are eating herbicides. So that's a problem, and on top of that you are promoting an agricultural model where you are killing all the biodiversity, the bees and everything. And whereas if you buy organic wheat from a certain village and so on, you know where it comes from, you know that the money is reaching the local farmer, it's a proximity economy, it's a local economy. You're not promoting a model that's leading to desertification. Actually, that's one of the problems. To fight climate change, to fight the global warming, one of the main things is agriculture. The potential is almost 100 gigatons to transform if we move from an industrialized agriculture with fertilizers, herbicides, and so on. If we move from there to generative agriculture, promoting biodiversity and the rainfall and so on. And there's technology as well. It's important to understand how blockchain and the support systems protect our investments. We as investments want to have our 8% interest, but we also want to protect the farmers. So how is this? How does this system work? So this is a way to provide a guarantee, collective guarantees to the farmers. This is called combined farm funding. You run the risk for other people to work without risks. After some years working in this platform, 100% of our investors have got their capital plus their interests back through their risking system. The important thing here is that the system alleviates and relieves the interest of all the participants, cooperatives, the auditors, and the collective guarantors work in a way that what's best for everyone is to bring in cooperatives that work. Ethic Hub can teach other industries to design can help them promote these type of actions. How are the communities transformed through this project? It's a tiered process. The poverty of producing farmers is very complex. This is not only about funding, it is also access to markets and also continuity, knowing that they will have the resources the year after helps them plan. They know that they can send their kids to schools because they can afford it. And regarding their own perception, the way they see what they're doing themselves that's wonderful. In the coffee market, there are huge amounts of everything, so everything is mixed up. So they, without intermediaries, they're exporting to Europe products with their name and surname. They know that people are drinking their coffee, acknowledging their quality, and knowing what it comes from. And you're getting more money from that. The quality is acknowledged. So you do this, if you know that, you do this with another attitude. You do this better and happier. And that is contagious, and other people around you would see that, and they will want to do that as well. So there are ways to do that, and this is a way to set an example with actual, with facts, with actual income, and they show that it makes sense to make things this way. And then we can drink our crypto coffee, and you might have the chance to drink it too, and you will have the chance to ask questions later on. But let me ask one myself now. Say I want to support this way of producing coffee, and I decide to invest 1,000 euros, and I care for their economic for their economic well-being. This is not about charity. How can I do that? It's quite simple. What's difficult in technology is to do simple things. It's been many years, and many people are probably still complaining about this, but the thing is that you go there, you enter your email, and you can create a profile with your identity, just like with a bank. Any protocol related to the traditional protocol system. So we check that that account is not related to any money laundering or anything. And then you can choose to lend. If you have crypto, then it's easier. The money is in your wallet, and then you lend. That's pretty straightforward, depending on you want to be exposed to. Otherwise, you can use your Visa for payments. You can invest on smart contracts, and that's the interesting thing about this. There is full traceability, and it goes from your wallet to a smart contract with preset conditions. And then you have the other option, which is the one you can do, the ethics. What is it? Yes, you can use your credit card or buy them on your own, but that's a little bit more complicated if you are not in the decentralized finance world. Another question, do producers have pressure from other companies so they don't follow that trend to have that grow system in the shade. 80% of the coffee in the world is produced by these farmers without any bank account, farmers who do not exist. The benefit goes to, or the income goes to all the intermediaries. It is not difficult to find those intermediaries that are always fighting to get new markets and funding and so on. It's 1 in 8 or in 10 is them. The barrier to the direct participation for them has always been the digital ID, which they don't have, and all the requirements from the traditional banking system that makes them being excluded. So we are not perceived as enemies because that happens at a level they do not work at. This is just sound that runs through your fingers for them. When you buy coffee, when you buy a coffee at the coffee shop, maybe you pay €3, or you go to the supermarket, you buy a kilo of coffee for whatever. The question is, how much do producers get from that? Not much. The supply chain is so badly created that the one making the money is the one putting the brand to the product. The supply chain is absurd at a macro level. On the one hand, there is 25 million poor people, and on the other hand, there are 2 companies with less than 1,000 shareholders making millions. This is one of the most asymmetrical value chains in the world. This is also about giving them their identity back, and also to give them their work. This is about empowering them. Empodera. This is about empowering. That's right, empowering through coffee. And also, I guess that this invisibility, not being a part of the banking system, is as if their ID were stolen. And through this project, they can also go back to society, re-enter society at a banking level as well, to get credit, for instance. Does this also have an impact on them somehow? Because they start being able to have fixed investments that can help them be part of the system and benefit from the system and having a bank account, for instance?
Well, I think it's two or many different factors or drivers. There is, of course, a direct correlation. You know that there are more than 1 billion people who don't have light. Small small farmers in the mountains. You see the correlation? And they don't have a telephone line or connectivity. They only have a smartphone to take pictures, and then they wait until they go to a city and have a Wi-Fi connection to send it over to Facebook. But I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk, but for them, Starlink is making a major change, or even PV panels. Because that way they have electricity and they have an internet connection. Starlink is making it to the most remote areas in the planet. When we started out, we dreamt of working with farmers, and it was completely impossible. Now it's starting to be a reality. And then you don't need to make an investment and buy a costly antenna. You can have it on your smartphone. So that way, that will be part of the global economy. That way, you have a smartphone, you have a telephone line, you have an internet connection, so you can get connected to the rest of the planet. You can look for people to sell your products to. You can look at the prices, the providers. So you stop being uncommunicated, because whether we like it or not, the world is digitized. If you don't have a website, if you're not on Google Maps, you don't exist. So imagine all the people who don't exist because they don't have electricity or an internet connection. So this is going to be a revolution because they're going to be able to interact with a global system that is designed to be comprehensive. So we said that we needed to rehumanize the internet and the economy. And not just because it's humanizing means anthropocentrism. And that has brought about many problems because that gave us like the right to exploit the environment. So we need to rehumanize and also become aware of the comprehensiveness of our role as part of the planet and our need to coexist with that nature, even if as much as technology can evolve, it can never compete with the very complex system our nature is after many millions of years. I think the idea of traveling to Mars is a dystopic dream. For instance, Mars competing against the Sahara in terms of habitability, well, that would take it millions of years. So we'd better take care of the planet as of now instead of investing money in the space race. Because artificial intelligence will be able to generate a fake video of us drinking coffee, but the reality, the scent, the aroma, the flavor of the coffee cannot be faked. And you can also replicate it for cocoa, right? Yeah, it's like, it's an industry we know very well, so it's like we want to consolidate it. We want to be the Amazon of that kind of industry. We can extrapolate to many crops outside of agriculture because that's why we chose the name Ethic Hub and not Agri Hub. So persuading people not to fear cryptocurrencies was already a milestone. And so persuading crypto pros that they can invest in sustainable investments will be another major step. We don't even mention cryptocurrencies to some people because, well, technology has proven, or we have proven that technology is not just another way to exploit people. Those farmers can benefit from technology even if they don't directly interact with the blockchain technology. They benefit from it thanks to the incentive system. So not having connectivity cannot be a barrier. Not having that barrier will make them more connected, more empowered, more traceable. But they don't need it to be able to benefit from it. Because many people 8 years ago said, do you think blockchain is ready for us to improve our financial system? Because in Europe we don't have severe problems with the financial system, but ask someone in Venezuela. They were the first to adopt the blockchain technology because they were in a critical situation. They needed it the way it was. So we've put like the reins to that wild horse. But it was a reality 8 years ago. My aunt in Europe could send money to a cooperative in Chiapas in Mexico as of then, and now it has been improved. But we can use what exists as of now instead of waiting for something to be perfect or ideal. So Ethic Hub means having in an ethical way. So I think we can take some questions from the audience. Any remarks? Well, this coffee smells so good. It's sourced from a place over 1,600 meters of height. He says he drinks up to 5 coffee cups a day. Can you sleep? And can you sleep after that? Yes, he can. But you also grow the green bean with not many tannins. Yeah, you have Robusta and Arabica varieties. We do Arabica, and it has only 1/3 of the caffeine in Robusta. Yeah, and green coffee means before it's roasted. So my question is, regarding the financial aspects, that money is intangible, and it's always a fuss or a mess, but there's something you can do about it always. But coffee is not intangible, it's a material asset, and you have to transfer it, right? So what is the logistic behind it? What platform do you have? Well, when you buy that coffee, you're buying it, you're paying for it in advance. So that money makes them be able to fund all their costs, to cover all their costs. So that's basically what you're paying for, the coffee and how it gets to you, it gets delivered to you. But I understand your question. We don't have warehouses. We outsource everything. The cooperative buys everything. It sources everything locally. And then we buy exporters, freight ships, and specialized services. And then coffee arrives in Spain, Barcelona, especially. We have a convention with a company called Mollenberger, or something like that, he says, that specializes in coffee logistics. So they store all the coffee, and then they deliver it to the 80 roasters in Spain and abroad. Another question? Yes, I want to know how you face the tax system, how you pay your taxes, because everyone has to pay taxes, even those who don't work with banks. What about cryptocurrencies and profitability? Unless you don't file your taxes, so how you deal with that? We don't really have to pay taxes. Taxes have to be paid by those who invest. It's like when you buy cryptocurrencies, and once you sell it back, you have to pay taxes on the benefits, so on the profits. So this is the same. You invest 100, and then your profit is 8, and you have to include those 8, whatever the currency, in your tax declaration. But it is not a responsibility. It's every user's responsibility. But I'd like to call your attention on, it's good to call the attention on that, because this can be controversial, because this world we live in has a social burden, and the social burden is supported by the revenues from work and not the capital revenues. They fly away as soon as our government starts increasing levying taxes on capital assets and capitals. Well, people just go away and they go to the tax havens. So big fortunes are not paying enough taxes. It's not just me saying so, it's Warren Buffett. He feels it is unfair for him to pay almost zero and his secretary 33% for her revenues. So we have to rethink the way this works. Those cryptocurrencies are making it easier for you to have your money on the metaverse. It is made possible for everyone, not just the people with big money. No, everyone can have that money in the cloud. So that forces us to rethink the way this works. And this debate is gonna grow very big. Now the big asset in the economic world is data. But only for big companies in the world are making profits out of them. They don't pay taxes in Spain, even if they have millions of users, Facebook users, of WhatsApp users. And they use data from those users to train their AI systems. So of course we need to tax all those assets. Everything is interconnected. We need to rethink the full tax system. Any more questions? Thank you. I have two questions. The first one is, well, since you're talking about smart contracts, this is based on the Ethereum network. Well, Zelo, which is layer 2 Ethereum. This is what we use nowadays because of the costs. The second question is the asymmetrical supply chains in the coffee industry. I understand the value or the benefits of Ethic Hub, but at the same time, not everybody can afford paying for, organic flour. Do you take into account that some people just cannot afford quality products? We needed to focus on generating impact on the side of producers, coffee growers, who've been historically unprotected for decades. There is a macroeconomic trend to buy specialty coffee, high quality coffee, and we want to leverage on that trend, to channel that money on the small producers. We don't have a perfect solution. I know we're not helping people on low income, but we focus to work on the producers. But if this becomes the standard, then the other side will benefit from it too. We're not putting all the cost on the consumer side. It's like when you buy a pair of flip-flops and you think, oh, this only cost me €1. And you think it's great that you had a big deal, but you're not thinking about the pollution you're creating with that purchase. So we are not making the consumers pay for all the benefits we are giving to the growers, to the producers. Once these standards become the standard, then you won't be surprised to see the price you have to pay for an organic coffee blend. No more questions? And we're out of time. Anyway, it was super inspiring. So please have a cup of crypto sustainable coffee.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you.